All right, in this video, we are going to work the following problem. It says if the cosine of theta is equal to -3/7 and theta is in quadrant 3, what is the sine of 2 theta? So we're trying to figure out the sine of 2 theta. So that looks just like one of the double angle identities. So looking at the double angle identities for sine, there's only one right here, and that is that the sine of 2x is equal to 2 sine theta cosine theta. So we don't really have a whole lot of choice here about which one to use, because for sine, there's only one. All right, so we're going to use this sine 2 theta equals 2 sine theta cosine theta. So, and they tell us that the cosine of theta is -3/7, right? So cosine would be -3/7. So that goes here. And now really all we need to finish this problem off is the value for sine theta, right? But that is not given to us. They don't tell us anything about that. But we can figure that out, right? Because we know the cosine of theta, we can go back to the fundamental identity and say, hey, we know that cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. All right, so cosine theta is -3/7, and we can substitute that in for cosine and then solve for sine. All right, so squaring this, we get 9/49. Right, on top you would have -3 times -3, which is a +9. In the denominator, you would have 7 times 7, which is a +49. All right, next up I want to solve for sine squared, so I would subtract 9/49 from both sides. All right, so over on the left-hand side, I have sine squared theta. On the right-hand side, right, I would have 1 minus 9/49. So in order to perform that subtraction, I would need a common denominator, right? So 1, I can write that as 49/49, right? That's what 1 is equal to. So then they have a common denominator. So 49/49 minus 9/49 is 40/49. All right, and now that I've solved for sine squared of theta, I can use the square root property, which says that if sine squared theta is equal to 40 divided by 49, then sine of theta would be the square root of 40 divided by 49. Okay. All right, and next up I need to simplify that as much as possible. I can do that because underneath the radical I have a fraction, and so that can be simplified by taking the square root of the numerator and putting it over the square root of the denominator. And we know that the square root of 49 is 7, and reducing this square root of 40, right? I want to try and reduce that down as much as possible. That's 4 times 10. 4 is the largest perfect square that will go into 40, right? So that can be reduced down to plus or minus 2 square roots of 10 over 7, right? Because the square root of 4 times 10 is the square root of 4, which is 2, times the square root of 10, which is 7. Okay? All right, so that's what we get for the sine. Notice how we have both a positive answer and a negative answer. We're going to have to make a choice about which one of those that we want. So it helps to draw a little picture of the situation. So let's say that's the unit circle, and theta is an angle, right, in standard position. So the vertex would be at the origin, and the initial side pointing in the positive x direction. So it tells us that theta is in quadrant 3, right? So that would mean that the terminal side of the angle is down in the third quadrant. So we can see where that angle hits the unit circle, right? At that point. Since that point is down in the third quadrant, right, its first coordinate would be negative and the second coordinate would be negative. So what that means is that both the cosine and the sine are negative numbers on this one. So we would choose the negative number for the sine. So we have that the sine of theta is negative 2 square roots of 10 over 7. Okay? And so now that goes in for sine theta in here. So negative 2 square roots of 10 over 7. All right, the last step is to multiply all this out. So to multiply all these three fractions out, I would multiply the numerators together. So doing that, I get 2 times negative 2 would be negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 3 is a positive 12. And then positive 12 times square root of 10 would be 12 square roots of 10. In the denominator, I have 1 times 7 times 7. That comes out to be 49. And so the final answer here is 12 square roots of 10 over 49.